Welcome to the channel. My name is Piotr Kowalczyk, and in today's video we are exploring a range of motion of two horn instruments. One of them is a trumpet, another alto saxophone. Two-part voicing in thirds, which means the distance between them won't be greater than major third. Each horn got its own range of motion, the sound, and specific articulation. We are going to keep the trumpet melody the way it is. Okay? We also decided to copy the same melody into alto saxophone and then drop it one octave lower. So now they play in octaves. Okay, if I raise the whole melody one octave higher, I achieve the unison. So this melody is going to be completely sound different than octaves. It's a different vibe. Okay, the good news is like all those notes are available for these two instruments. Alto, this very first note could be difficult, but now this is the moment when actual fun begins. Today we are elevating our awareness towards horn section by taking it to the next level. We are spreading the voicing through individual instruments. We are not using a horn section as one and just play on a keyboard like during the previous videos. We are dedicating individual tracks for individual instruments. So we are starting today by introducing the trumpet and alto saxophone. Two separate tracks, two different instruments, and you're going to witness their sound, the range of motion, articulation, and how they relate to each other. There's a bunch of good news about it. Trumpet player and alto saxophone shares a similar range of motion. They exist around 2 octave range. Most of the trumpet players got that range. However, there is few exceptions, like for example Arturo Sandoval or Dizzy Gillespie. They had a range of motion over 5 octaves. But we are talking about genius here. Okay, so now we are elevating these instruments to individual tracks. Not only that, we are introducing a new way of thinking about horns and harmonization in music. So we are starting with new intervals. We call them major and minor thirds. The best way to control the range of each horn is through VST plugin window. Every single VST plugin got its own stuff. You've got the keyboard underneath, and the section in blue stands for the range of the instrument. So now I go from, this is very low, this is very high. So now I'm thinking, I'm gonna select a range of motion what feels natural to that instrument. And turns out, we can select 2-octave range from C to B flat. In extreme situations, I can go to B flat or even A. But you have to understand that any fast lines could backfire on that instrument and the sound itself. So if I go that low, I want to make sure that the trumpet player has time to prepare these notes before he plays it. The C, it's totally doable for most of the players. However, after that, I got, it creates a lot of pressure on the lips and the note itself. So I will stick to the range between C and B flat. 2 octaves should be enough to express that instrument. Let's take a listen our trumpet line. Okay, so it turns out the highest what we go is this G. The lowest, D. And all of a sudden, everything sits beautifully. So I don't have to worry about consequences. Now, once I get better with that instrument and writing for horns, I could push the envelope even further, or just spend time with that instrumentalist asking additional questions. Ask them to play certain things, and basically together we just have a conversation. What's possible, what's playable, what gives them the most trouble. The trumpet's range of motion goes from extreme D in a bass clef to extreme E flat on top. Okay? I wouldn't go. The safe range of motion, in my opinion, goes through B flat to A. The books, what you purchase, suggest to go from C all the way to B flat. So we are pretty close with our own, discovery. That's what the books suggest. This is our observation and the range of motion for real. You have to remember that this is an instrument what the instrumentalist blows to. Another way of approaching that specific instrument is to meet the instrumentalists who are about to play it. Talk to them, hear them playing, ask them to play specific notes, especially in this low range and the upper range. Ask them questions how far they can go without losing the pitch. And ask them to demonstrate, some passages. Can you play this? Can you go higher? Of course, my piano doesn't allow me this. VST plugin doesn't allow me to go to F, but I promise it's totally possible. It just comes down to up to the instrumentalist. All right, so you've got the range of motion of the trumpet. Now, let's concentrate on alto saxophone. Let's concentrate on alto saxophone. So we are going to copy the trumpet line, go to alto saxophone, and we're going to drop the same melody line. When we play alto, okay, so it seems like when we copy that music and present it to alto saxophone, some of the notes are more difficult to achieve. We are getting closer to that, range of motion what the musician can control. So let's just see the alto scenario. Alto saxophone, it's gonna have a different range of motion. Goes from C to A, 2.5, and of course, this is very extreme for musician. So there's a possibility that these notes will give us a lot of trouble. So what do? You find a range of motion what speaks to you as comfortable. I would start the whole journey of the alto saxophone from F. Okay, now I wouldn't go to A. I would finish at F. That's why this G it's kind of difficult to achieve. So if we stay in this range of motion from F to F, we should be fine. Quick reminder, when we play trumpet and we choose B flat to B flat, we've got 2 octaves. When we play alto saxophone and go from F to F, we've got 2 octaves. Once we memorize this, we should be fine. So now if I try to play alto saxophone in octaves with the piano, so there's a chance that this D won't sit well. Let me grab it and drop it 1 octave lower. Okay, and now we're going to play both. We're going to mute bass, piano, drums, and horns, and play these 2. So the upper register of alto saxophone, it's wonderful. It's a very comfortable range for that instrument. However, when we start, this D won't do anything magical to us. Alto sax, and the range of motion It's go from D to A. Okay? The safe range of motion goes from F to F. So this is where most of the alto sax will live. Okay? And this is difficult. It's totally possible. But we are talking about cutting the range of motion by minor third on the bottom and major third on top. So it's not a big deal, right? However, we have to respect that range of motion. That is why harmonization, it's a very powerful tool. And today we are gonna give you the basic fundamental concept of how to harmonize horns. We already touched the essence of playing in unison and also octaves. Now it's time to use different intervals. In order to play with intervals, we have to know the origin of the melody. Where does it come from? What kind of bass foundation are we facing? What kind of chord the melody sits on? Today's melody sits on G7. G7 with natural tension 9th and 13th. Okay, now, if I want to touch horns in a different way than octaves and unison, I have to know that. Now, the melody sits on top of that G7. It doesn't go beyond that. Of course, the piano player, it's gonna play different chords, but they are, soak with that flavor of G7. Okay, so the good news is that we don't have to go beyond that. So now, G7 is the foundation. Our melody exists on top of that chord. Of course, we are hitting constantly. Like the B, it's a 3 of G7. We start with 5. We go through 7. Tension 9th. This is just passing note into 3. Root, sometimes 5, and sometimes tension 13th. Okay, so this is the game. So now we know what's going on with the melody. Our close voicings start with the melody on top. Now, the last thing I want to do is to attach another voicing closer to that melody than minor or major third. We copied the same melody line to alto saxophone. Right now, they play in unison. Okay, starts with D, which is 5 of the G7. This is the root 3, 5. Okay, so now, the very next chord tone available to me in G7 is actually B. The distance between D and B, it's minor third, which is exactly, it's perfect. So now, you see what I mean? So now, instead of D, I'm gonna drop it by my minor third down, and I've got the bass of my reharmonization. I don't want you to worry right now. It sounds like a giant mistake. It's not. Look, now I'm gonna slow the BPM from 176 to 138 for fun. Now I want you to see more of the notes. Here we go. I'm gonna go through every note relationship and make adjustments. The chord sits on top of the scale. You see, we have a structural notes, which is 1, 3, 5, 7. We've got also notes between. We call them tensions, 9, 11, 13th. When we play them all, we achieve a certain scale of motion. Now, the melody exists on top of that scale. Now I can go into surgical adjustments, and I'm pretty sure if I recognize a note what doesn't belong to that duet, I'm going to raise it up by half a step or drop it down by half a step until it starts making sense. So let's just concentrate. Let's slow the tempo to 125. You see, this note, F sharp, doesn't belong. But if I drop it by half a step, here we go. Okay, so look, since G sharp, it doesn't belong, and I've got additional repetitions of the same in my line, I'm gonna just select them all and then drop it half a step like I did with the other note. Also, we adjusted F sharp into F, so I'm gonna find all the F sharps I used in the past and drop them. So now I'm working fast. Okay? This note doesn't belong. I can tell that this note is gonna fit perfectly. Continue. Okay, so now we can speed the tempo to 176. And of course, this is just the beginning of that transformation. Let's unleash other instruments. I'm gonna keep the horn section muted for now, and let's just unleash the bass and the piano. It's already sounds good. Okay? And of course, if I have access to more horns, like these two horns, they will never sound like a full potential of horn section. If I unmute the horn section, which includes 4 instruments, you're going to hear the difference. Okay, you heard it, right? Huge difference. Horn section muted, just 2 horns. Let's just say that our budget only allowed us to pay for 2 instrumentalists. It's still, we can provide that sound. There's nothing wrong with this. Okay, so imagine we've got only trumpet and alto saxophone in a minor or major third distance, but from each other. Imagine what we can achieve by adding additional tenor saxophone, a trombonist, right? And 2-part voicing becomes 3-part voicing, 4-part voicing, and so on. So we can expand upon that idea, but the idea stays. You have to understand what chord is underneath, and chord's progression moves forward, so one chord becomes another. Now you have to know how the melody line resolutes. If it resoluted for flat 3 or 5 of the new chord, you have to be aware of it in order to fit perfectly at the voicings. But this is a technique what you can use today without much knowledge. You just drop it below for another chord tone, and then slowly, by using your ear, develop that relationship note by note and kind of fit it into that transformation. Our goal is to explore the horn section. Now we are start picking individual instruments and kind of introduce them in a way what makes sense, and it's obvious, honest, and right there with all the information you need in order to be successful. So we are going to attach the same approach towards tenor saxophone next time when we see each other, trombone, and develop that harmony into something more complicated. But turns out we don't have to be complicated all the time. This already sounds great. Until then, my name is Piotr Kowalczyk. I will see you next time.